Hey, what's going on, everybody? We know we've been gone for a good minute, but we back, baby. Welcome to another episode of In the Paint Podcast. I'm your host, Rios. I got my boy Mario here. How's it going, man?
Hey, just trying to deal with this bipolar weather that we have in here. I think sometimes Kanye is in town,
All
and
right.
it's just, but there's no
He's,
pill that you can't take a pill for the weather. So,
Mother Nature is definitely Gemini.
yeah, I mean, we got some good weather. It was today, yesterday, next week we're gonna get hammered again with some more cold. So, this is up and down. How you doing?
Hey, it's like they say, man. If you live in Texas, you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes. That's
Oh
what it
yeah.
really feels like. No, so we've been gone for a good minute, and we've missed a few, key things as far as the NBA season goes. But not too much has changed in the NBA landscape. I mean, the Lakers fleeced the Mavericks, but hasn't really changed
uh,
his fortune too much. I mean,
yeah. I mean, Luca finally, got his revenge. I would, so just for one game, but everyone was talking about it. They said they had like 2.5 million people tune into the game,
it was
so
one of the
that's one of
highest
the highest rated games. Yeah,
in
this
NBA,
season.
which is
Yeah,
crazy.
so I mean, it's good because it brings viewers. People want to see the game evolve. People love the drama, so they're gonna tune in for the drama, see what happens. Maybe a little fight here and there. They want something to happen.
Oh,
They're like maybe a gesture to Nico Harrison but something. They want to see something there.
no, it is like because like the NBA from before, there was always like storylines, kind of like wrestling almost. Like there was some kind of the way they would
Yes.
narrate before the game would start. Like they would build up these storylines. They would build up what these players have gone through this and that. Now it's more like it's just building super teams and jacking up threes. I'm like, it's yeah, it's not the same that it used to be. The game evolves, but they got to do something. Because I mean, this past All Star Weekend, the least viewed in what I think ever, or second worst viewed ever. I'm like, something's gonna need to mess with with the
Yeah.
All Star format. It needs to be East versus West. Just leave it at that.
Yeah. There's been so many things. Something I did was watching that maybe can translate if you build it up. USA Hockey had their all-star break sort of deal with the with Russia. I mean, with Canada,
Yeah, the four
Finland.
nations tournament.
Yeah. So maybe something can happen like that. Maybe like they were there. I think Giannis was saying, Team America versus the world or something, but something like that.
I can buy
Because
something
it
like
needs to change. Obviously, the East and the West, of course, it's old school's throwback, but as the more players from across the pond and just across the world in general are dominating now in the NBA. We got Jokic already MVP of face of the league. Luca, the faces of the league are changing. They're no longer
it's yeah, it's
Americans.
mostly
They
European
were
players.
before. Yeah, so
Contrary
you
to
know
what Stephen A
now,
says, these European players are dominating the NBA right now.
yeah, definitely. So maybe something like that can happen. They can do something to spice it up a little bit, but definitely needs to be changed or something. They need to do something. Of course, it's just going to get worse and worse every year.
No, what I think it is like like when growing up, like we would watch the NBA on ABC, that intro music.
Oh yeah,
You just play it, any 90s kid will recognize it instantly, and it'll take you back to, watching it as a kid on the couch with your parents, and it takes you back. Now,
hmm
like you gotta download all these different streaming services just to watch a game, even your own
that's
hometown teams. Like I shouldn't have to download a separate app to watch the Rockets play or watch, the
hmm
Astros play or any other Houston team. Like should be on regular, like the NFL, like regular channels. But I digress. It's a topic for another day.
yeah. Oh yeah.
We can make I can go whole tangent about that. But yeah, let's talk about the Rockets a little bit. So before we had went our little hiatus, they were on a bit of a losing streak. I think it was like 5 or 6 games.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they
It
were
was getting a little concerning watching them. They eventually turned it
very.
won a couple games after the All-Star break. So currently they are 36-22. They're still fourth in the West. And as far as the upcoming schedule, they have a fairly easy schedule according to strength of schedule. They are they have the third easiest schedule remaining for the rest of the league for the rest of the season. And I want to get your thoughts. What do you think the Rockets do? How do they close out this season? The last couple of years,
You know,
they're
I'm
20 wins. Last year they won 41. Where do they go from here?
I kind of think they maintain their where they're at right now, kind of in the middle of the pack. Not definitely not in the playoff game. Sorry, the playing game. But looking at the schedule, I think it's sports are kind of weird just because you see that the Rockets of the caliber, just see what standing the seeds there are, and you expect them to dominate the lower teams, but that just doesn't happen with sports because you have to play the game. So even with them having the third easiest schedule, I see some of the teams here. You still have the Bucks to play. Thunder coming up. You have the Pacers, the Suns. These are still teams that have a lot going for them. The Nuggets. So there's still a lot of power there
Yeah.
with these teams coming down the road. So but in the end, I see the Rockets staying kind of again, like I was saying, middle of the pack between the 4 and the 6 seed, maybe going up and down. But that doesn't mean they can't move up. The other teams still have to play. So it's going to come down to the wire, I think, as far as seeding is concerned with the Rockets. So you know, but I do have a lot of hope for them being able to finish out strong this season.
Yeah, I think what's carrying this team up is the defense. They're still a top 5 unit defensively. The biggest thing I think for them is just finding that consistency on offense. Because when Jalen Green and Sengun are clicking, this is one of the toughest teams to stop offensively.
Oh yeah.
But again, they're young guys. They have their off nights. If they can find a way to be more consistent, especially down the stretch, they can easily finish as a top 3 seed. Currently, they are fourth. I think just based off of who they're playing who they're going to play for the remainder of the season, this team has a very good chance of winning over 50 games and finishing with at worst, at best, probably seconds. I don't see them catching the Thunder. The Thunder have too much of a gap
Oh
unless they have
yeah.
a complete collapse. I don't see it. I mean, my SGA is the MVP. He's probably not going to get it,
Oh,
which is bizarre. But like he's been playing lights out. He's averaging 30 plus a game for seasons in a row. But he plays for the Thunder. It's a small market team. They just don't get that exposure. But this dude is in my opinion, he's the MVP of the league. But he's probably not going to get it. It's just unfortunate. But
I mean,
they're
people, everyone's going to look at Jokic,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Jokic or Luka, especially if Luka turns it around with the Mavericks. I mean with the Lakers. Excuse me. It still feels weird saying that.
Oh no! How did that come out?
Right?
How did that feel coming out? Like, ooh.
Yeah, it doesn't come off the tongue naturally. But like because he's playing for the Lakers. All eyes are always on the Lakers. One of the legacy teams of
Of
the NBA.
course,
If he
yes.
is able to be the Luka he was last season with this Lakers group, yeah, he might be a dark horse MVP candidate. We'll see. Well, it's kind of late in the season. He's missed a lot of time. We'll see if he's played enough games to qualify. Because with speaking of injuries, with Wembanyama out, he doesn't qualify for
Oh
defensive player.
yeah.
So it's up in the air. So that's one thing I do like about Adam Silver. He brought that you have to play a certain amount of games to win these awards because can't load manage and get these major awards. But with this,
Yeah. There's fewer things he brought that make sense than more things
than
he
that,
added that made sense. I would say, but that's definitely one I agree with. There has to be a cap on how many games you play. No longer can you, just play 20, 30 games here and then, rest on your laurels because sometimes you're having the best, you're at your top of the career, you're having career nights every night during that span, and it's hard for another player, being that they have the whole season to get those averages, past, what those players are playing. So
mhm.
that's one of the few things that's done right. But Luca, ooh, dark horse. That's a little. I don't know. They're resting him. He's still a little. I think he's still going. But he'll get there. I think eventually he'll get to the spot where he's. I mean, he just had a great game against the Mavs. his former team. It's usually players usually have a great game against their former team, especially when it kind of ended the way it did.
Yeah,
But going
I would be a fan of
forward,
the
we got
coldest
to
photo of
see.
the year. That picture of him looking at the former GM. I mean, that's coldest photo of the year so
Oh
far.
yeah, doing push-ups during practice, like warm-up session. Like what is who is this Luka now? Like what happened? Like something the fire is ignited in him again. So maybe and being with LeBron, a seasoned vet like him, of course, wherever all his accolades that he has, but being able to instill, his basketball, IQ into someone like Luca, who's very young still,
Not even
it
that.
could just carry him to the moon.
Not even that. Just the work ethic. Just maintaining your body. I think because all the reports I've been seeing about the Mavericks saying, oh, they were concerned about
Mhm.
his drinking and him smoking hookah. I'm like, dude's 25. He's from Europe. He's been a professional athlete since he was 13 years old. Like, you don't make it this far as a professional athlete if you don't, know what you're doing as far as your body goes. Could he be in better shape? Sure, but I mean, he's built like a plumber. Joker's built like a plumber, and they drop 50 on your favorite team at any given night. So, like, I wouldn't too worry too much about that. But yeah, I digress. But no, I see this Rockets team going back to the topic. So I see this Rockets team finishing the season with at
Oh yeah.
least 52 wins, which again is a big major step forward because I see again, like I
Oh,
mentioned earlier,
definitely.
21, 22 wins, 41, jumping to 52, it will be a big. Now, where 52 wins gets them seeding wise, probably second or third seed. Just again, depending how the rest of the season, how the rest of the West shakes up. Excuse me, it's going to depend. How that shakes up to where they will land seeding wise. But I don't see them finishing lower than fourth in the West. Playoffs is going to be interesting, depending how this the bottom half of the play in and the 6 to 8 seeds finish out. It's going to be real interesting in the West because the East, it's basically Boston and everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I mean, there's just nothing anybody can do over there. Everyone was talking, had this little hope that the Knicks would do something, but they were just getting dominated. I mean, slaughtered. And all the talking pundits, just this is what's going to happen. Everyone until the Knicks, do something else. But Celtics just haven't locked up, at least on the East. But looking at the standings, you got the Clippers, Timberwolves, the Warriors, the Mavs are still there, Kings and hanging around. So that's it's just going to be up and down with those
It's
teams
gonna
moving on the
be a
standings.
yeah, it's gonna be a dogfight in the West. Well, because I think with the Knicks, it's kind of what what we talked about it a few episodes ago, where I was, kind of preaching that the Rockets should stay pat at the deadline and they're not making any major moves, don't break up your core, and focus on building these guys up. Kind of like what the Thunder have done over the last few seasons, and we've seen them take steps. We've seen those strides year after year. Last season, they were the number one seed in the West. They kind of got dominated in the playoffs, but it's a young team. Like they need those growing pains, those basically those battle scars to learn from and to be able to take the next step. And that's I see the Rockets on the same type of ascension. They're maybe win the first round, second round. Again, it depends who they play. I think they match up pretty well with most teams. The one team that I do see them giving them problems would be the Thunder, just because SGA is, he's top. He's one of the top scorers in the NBA. Chet Holmgren is a two-way threat. Like they have a lot of pieces in place. They're a very well-rounded team, and they can beat you in a number of different ways. And they've been there before. The Rockets, this young Rockets team has not. So if they
Yeah,
in the playoffs, more it'll be fun to watch. But I don't see the Rockets pulling it off. But again, growing pains, battle scars. So that's what you need to
yeah.
take a step. It's kind of like same
No,
with Jordan did with the Bulls. Like he easily could
oh
have
yeah,
left,
definitely.
and he grew, and he all those battles with the Pistons, and
Yeah,
finally be able to defeat the Pistons, and then just go on to be the GOAT.
dominate. Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, when it comes to the Rockets, as far as playoffs, the seeding, I know you mentioned Oklahoma being a problem, as far as match problem, but also, I see the Grizzlies also being a problem as well. They match up pretty well.
Oh yeah, they do.
Um, and but I mean, I probably said it before. In a 7-game series, it's not. they're going to get to know everything about you. So who's really going to make those adjustments as far as, email, how he's going to make those adjustments? How are the players going to make the adjustments? How will they adjust to get in? You know, I know I cross left, shoot right, or whatever they do, their signature move. That other team's gonna know. So a team like the Grizzlies, they're scrappy. They're a scrappy team. Of course, the games that they played before have been very close. One, two possessions. So that's another team I see kind of, down the road for the Rockets. Like, hey, this might be a little matchup problem, but again, that's probably somewhere maybe in the second round, depending on, again, like you're saying, who to play in the first round. But it's something to look forward to. This is, it's something to get excited about. I think for a lot of the fans, here in the city of Houston, because it's something that they haven't had something like this to see before in quite some time. That
Yes.
they're scrapping, they're in the fight, they're in the mix, and the Rockets, just proving every season, hey, we're climbing that ladder, and the team, the city sees it,
Big season.
and there's
They're
something,
getting
yeah,
a lot of praise. Nationally, it was the NBA. The NBA account on Twitter, national pundits. They've been getting their flowers. Which
yeah,
even when James Harden was here in Houston, you didn't really see the Rockets get that type of love, even though they were one of the few teams that can go toe to toe with the Golden State Warriors during their dynasty days.
that's
Like they were
true,
really the only team that
that's very true.
was able to give the Warriors trouble. They're the only ones that took them to 7 games.
Yeah, there's a couple games they should have had them, but
And it's
it's neither here
one of
nor there. It
those.
happened.
I think it's gonna be one of those big what ifs in history. What if Chris Paul doesn't pull his
Definitely,
I mean, because they were the Warriors were on the brink of elimination, but without Chris Paul, because I think he was the linchpin for that team.
definitely,
He was definitely the
definitely.
catalyst. And James Harden was the finisher, but without Chris Paul, like you saw what happened. Like they just completely fell apart. Just didn't have that veteran.
And yeah, and talking about that team, when you talk about this team now, uh, you know, I think having that one veteran is on the team, Van Vliet, you know,
Because he's been there. He has
having
it.
him on the court, I mean, even though that he has the injuries and stuff, but having him on the court, being that court general, really makes a big difference for the team. He sets up a lot of things that people wouldn't normally, see him do. But having a shooting guard be a ball handler, bring up the court all the time is not your most ideal situation. You want to get to someone like Van Vliet to have bring that ball up court, really set it up, set the plays up. And that was Chris Paul was doing the same thing. He was that court general, and I feel now that the Rockets have someone like that, uh, can help them further down the line in the playoffs. Overcome a lot of the things that they're probably gonna have difficulties with in the future.
Yeah, another veteran president said, a lot of people were very skeptical when he got signed was
Mhm.
Brooks. Everyone was saying because a lot
Oh
of people
yeah,
like be out of the league, like why did the Rockets give him all this money? That contract's going to age horribly, yada yada yada. And he's having a career season with the Rockets right now. He's averaging career best in points per game, 3-point percentage. Like he's really stepped it up on defensive end as well. Like he's been another leader in the locker room for the Rockets, and he kind of sets the tone for them as well. And you kind of need that with a team. Basically, like outside those two guys, the rest of the roster is under 20, 22 years old. I think Jalen Green is probably like the person that's been there the longest.
yeah,
He got drafted in 2021. So I mean that tells you how young this inexperienced this team is. So you kind of need those guys that have been there before, have done it before, have played with the some of the greats in the NBA. Like you know
definitely.
Van Fleet played with Kawhi Leonard, and when he's healthy, he's one of the best players in the league. You had Dylan Brooks who played with John Morant when he's healthy and not suspended, one of the best players in the league.
Oh,
They're used to those guys, and they've
oh yeah.
been there. They've played in the playoffs, and they got this experience, to share with these young guys. And like, hey, I'll show you the way, and just follow me. And we're starting to see that
And,
it took some time
yeah.
for them to click, but they're getting there.
Another thing I have been noticing with the past couple games, we talked about Amen Thompson, is the Rockets are slowly building their own big three. You have Sengun, you have Green, and Thompson now is being more consistent. I remember before I talked about the Rockets, having that faith in him to take the last shot when he did it against the Grizzlies that one game.
Yeah.
And they see it more now, like, hey, they're giving him the time, the playing time, the position. Hey, they're getting him better spots to make those plays. And slowly but surely, when you look at the numbers, this is the big three you can see kind of. I don't want to speak too soon, but it seems like they're kind of have a little big three right now that once they, really gel more and really uh work out the kinks would be, a big threat to a lot of the, teams in the West and, ultimately probably down to finals.
Yeah, I think Jalen Green, he was interviewed by Taylor Rooks a few weeks ago, and I think he put it best. If he can develop a consistent jumper, I mean, he said it himself, watch out. And I quote, watch out if he develops a consistent. That's one of the things that's missing from his repertoire is
Definitely.
the jumper. But if he can develop that, he's already, defense by all the advanced defensive metrics, he's one of the top defenders in the league. And he's 6'7". He's up there
Oh,
averaging
yeah.
double doubles as far as like, with the points and the rebounds. You don't really see that from his natural position is point guard. He was drafted to be the point guard. But they brought in Mike Evans because little Mike Evans, Fred VanVleet, because his handles aren't up to NBA standards just yet. It's still a work in progress. But again, he was 19 when they drafted him. If he can develop that and he can develop a consistent jumper, he's been getting a lot of praise from the media pundits, and I think it's deservedly so because he's a fun person to watch because
Yeah,
he plays
definitely.
hard on both ends of the court. And if you want to play for Coach Udoka, you got to play hard on both ends of the court because
Oh, yeah.
he's quick to bench someone if they're not giving effort.
And call him out in the press. He'll call you out in the press, after the games, and he'll let you know this team was terrible. This team didn't do it. He's not going to sugarcoat it, and that's someone that's a coach you need whenever you have young players, because that's how you develop ultimately. If they had a young coach that were kind of the same age as them, wasn't you don't have the same resume as Emed, then it's going to be a different story.
Right, you saw with
So
Steven Silas, like
yeah, and
they
so
respect him because
and
they're
so
very
Udoka got some playing well, and you know I don't mind a little call out here now and then. Sometimes you got to light a little fire under the player's ass. It's just it's just that's what you need sometimes. The
as
players
a
don't
young
see it
man, you need
sometimes.
accountability sometimes. Like it's just
Yeah, you need it, especially in this game whenever players are getting play paid a bunch of money. And
mhm.
you go see a lot of players kind of you take off plays here and there, but you know the ones who when you have a coach like Udoka, that it really it's more than just money. Hey, I want to be great. I want to do this. So that he has the Rockets playing at a high level, and you can see that from whenever he got here to now with the record. How they're being more assertive defensively. The offense is doing better. The rebounds, they're just rebounding like crazy. So
Yeah,
those are things that that he's having to work on whenever they're practicing, hey, let's work on this, and it is showing. You can right now they're reaping the rewards, and it's just an early vision of what you're going to get later down the line from these young Rockets team.
but yeah, so we're gonna switch over to our next Houston basketball team, the Houston Cougars.
Oh
Congratulations
yeah.
to them, back-to-back Big 12 champions. And it's funny, like when they joined, I have a screenshot here. So when they joined the Big 12 last season, let me pull it up. They started off 1-2 last year in Big 12 play. And a lot of the
Mm.
national reporters were like, it is, hey, this is a Conference USA anymore. This is the Big 12. Maybe the lights are too bright. They're not ready for this moment. Since all those little headlines came out, they have gone 30-2 in the Big 12 conference. 30-2. They haven't lost a road game since last season. They've been
Yeah.
they've been a ranked team for 103 weeks now. The longest streak since they've been keeping track of it from the Associated Press. Just to put it in context, so they're at 103 weeks. The next team for longest running streak is Tennessee at 76 weeks. That is
Jesus.
that's
Almost double.
just I mean, and it comes down to coaching. When Coach Sampson took over in 2018,
Yes,
the program
definitely.
wasn't very good. They had been, they had seen better days. They were, playing in a lower conference,
Definitely.
attracting, these top level recruits. But he instilled, something similar to what Coach Udoka's instilled with the Rockets. It starts on the defensive
Yes,
end. That starts on the defensive end.
definitely.
It starts with intensity, playing on both sides, and with accountability. And since he's taken over, the Cougars have gone to the Final Four once, to the Elite Eight once, and to the Sweet 16 three times. That is a major turnaround. And, not just that, but they
Big
went from
time.
Conference USA into the Big 12. Well, playing in the bigger
Mhm.
conference, you get more sponsorships. It's easier to
Of
draw
course.
bigger recruits, and they've been getting a lot of 4 and 5 star recruits to their team, and it's really helped revitalize this program. I mean, they with their turnaround, they were able to get the Fertitta Center built, and it's one of the top facilities in the
Oh, yeah.
NCAA.
Very nice. Very nice. I mean, Samson, what can I say about him? I remember when he was on the coach, one of the bench coach for the Rockets,
Yeah,
and you can see what he was doing with the Rockets as far as the players playing more defensively. And so you can see the turnaround because he was instilling that, that was his, his thing was defense. And I remember when the news came out that, he was going to go to U of H. I was like, wow, this is a huge blow to the Rockets because
yeah,
you could see the big turnaround that was happening with the defense and how the team was actually starting to, getting better on defensive end, and they were winning more games because the defense was there. So when he left the Rockets, I was like stunned, especially for U of H when at a time where they were very, they were not good.
no,
They weren't on anybody's radar,
that's
and so
fair to say they were not a very good program.
yeah, they just were not. They were just not producing what they used to, a good product. And once he came onto the scene, you knew automatically defense was going to be the number one thing for him. Hey, we got to do this. And he had his guys playing full court press whenever he first got there. Hey, we're going to full court press. If we're not going to beat them by points, we're going to beat them because we're going to tire them out. We're going to have the most. We're going to be the most physically fit. The end of the team. So, and surely but surely, slowly but surely, you can see the team starting to turn around. They'll have a little win here against a big team. You're like, okay, then you kind of hang your hat on that. But the more wins, he started attracting more players, especially within the city. He's been, the big players that usually would leave the city and go to another state because the program here was just not an elite program. Now those elite players are fighting to get a spot, on the bench for
Yeah,
next year, if not for this year. So it's a good thing to have within the city that hey, people are scratching and clawing to want to get on the U of H team. So it just show you what kind of person and coach that Coach Sampson is, and he's not gonna lay off of who he is. And then you just see like you were saying, one Final Four, all these the Big Eight, I mean the Elite Eight.
Sweet.
It's just a lot of things, Sweet 16, and then now he has a standard like, hey, we got to reach these goals every year at least as a team, and I don't see that not happening for the near future.
Yeah, they've taken step by step, and I think the next step is getting into that championship game. And with the way he runs his program, it's
Hmm.
only a matter of time. It's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when. And this team
Definitely.
is built to win today, and is built to win in the future. With all the 4 and 5 star recruits they've signed over the last 2 years, they haven't even started playing yet. So this
Yeah,
program,
yeah.
it's gonna be one of those powerhouses as long as they maintain. Because Coach Sampson's gonna coach for a while, and then his son is his assistant coach. So whenever he decides to hang it up, you got another Sampson waiting in the wings. I've seen on Twitter some people are like, how come we don't try to sign Coach Sampson's son? Like, he's not gonna leave. He has a guaranteed job whenever he wants it, whenever his
Oh
dad says.
yeah, definitely.
But another testament to Coach Sampson is player development. So, guy
Okay.
that's
Yep.
really stepped up over the last few weeks is Milos Uzan. So not a big name recruit, hasn't really done too
Mhm.
much the last couple of years. He's a junior right now. When his freshman year, he averaged, about where is it at? He only averaged about 7.6 points a game. Nothing to write home about. Following season, he averaged 9. Currently, he's averaging
Mhm.
11 points, but that doesn't paint the whole picture. Because again, he was sitting behind, some guys that really carried his UH program the last couple of
Oh
years.
yeah, definitely. Yes.
Now he got a chance to be able to step up since those guys have gone on to the NBA. And he started the
Mhm.
season off a little slow. He was only averaging about 9 points a game. No, I got nothing to write about. Over the last month, he's averaged over almost 16 points a game. He's averaging over 5 assists a game the last few weeks. Like he's really stepped it up, and he's been their go-to guy. He was the go-to guy against Texas Tech. Let me pull up his numbers
Oh, the
real.
big time, especially the one of the last shots that he took in the last couple minutes. To kind
Yeah,
of seal that game for them.
Yeah, he led the team in scoring. He scored 22 points on 8 of 15 field goals. Very efficient. He had 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and he was 3 or 4 from beyond the arc. Like he had a complete game, and he was, he's been their go-to guy in the crunch time. Like whenever they need a bucket at the end, he's been the guy that the coaches turn to. And a lot of the pundits they're starting to see it too. Like hey, this guy might be the next big thing as far as guards from Houston.
Could be.
Houston has a reputation of producing these great guards. You got Sassler in the NBA. You
Mhm.
got Quentin Grimes. Like you have all these guys that they've stepped up, especially in March. We have March Madness
Oh,
coming.
definitely.
This is where you can build your legacy and build your resume and take the next step. Because everyone,
Yeah.
all eyes are on the NCAA in March. They don't call it March
Oh, all
Madness.
that, yeah, yeah. That's it. I mean, we got everything's going on. There's this. It's a dead season, pretty much. I mean, yes, you have the NBA going on at the time, but everyone knows it's March Madness
Yeah,
every year. It's going to come. Everybody knows what's going to happen, and it's just exciting. It gets keep getting bigger every year. They keep adding more teams to it, so you get more chances. To make it. Probably to the. You have a Cinderella. You have a better chance of Cinderella the team making out of the. The top,
yeah.
the
Every
bottom
year
bracket.
you want to see who's going to be the next Cinderella team. We've seen it year after year. I remember a few years ago when Davidson was making some noise in the tournament. You
Oh,
see a young Steph Curry. You have NBA
oh
players
yeah.
tweeting about him. And we're like, we'll see what this Curry guy can really shoot. We'll see how he does in the pros. And we're looking at a first ballot Hall of Famer, 4-time NBA champion. I mean, this is
And
where you
that could be
your legacy.
Milos. That could be Milos. Right. Sometimes some players just get hot at the right moment. And right now is a great moment going into March, and we know what the tournament's happening.
Mhm.
He really can showcase what kind of a player he really is. Of course, the numbers is going up. He's getting more confident as more playing time he's getting, as more coaches are trusting him with his gameplay and his decision making. It's just we're gonna see what kind of player he is on the court. And judging by what it looks right now, you know, the Cougars got a good player in them, and so I expect them to do a lot. In the playoffs, in the tournaments, and so we'll see. If he turns out to be one of those, hey, darling, NBA darlings in the draft, as a draft pick, and you're like, hey, but it's because again, Coach Sampson is really letting these players develop. He the more great players you have in front of you and then you can learn from, the more you can take those some of that stuff that you've seen, you can learn from a little bit. And that's probably something that he's done. He has some great players, some great guards. It's hard to crack, just to get into
Starting
you know
rotation.
get some garbage time. It's hard to do that. So but now that they've been giving him some time to play, he's really coming into his own. And I think I like about Sampson is that he does let the guys play. He doesn't just yank them out, just because, you're just here for this one game or not. But if he sees that they're doing well, he'll keep them in, see, what else they can produce. And if he sees that there's something in them, he's going to keep them in the game and let them, kind of figure it out a little bit. And so that's kind of what you're seeing here. Milos is kind of like, doing his own thing. He's really coming up. And that's kind of what I like about Samson's leadership and how he's able to instill that into the players.
Yeah, certain players they're built for the big moment, and we'll see.
Oh
If
yeah,
he's one of those that when March comes around, when the lights are the brightest and all eyes are on you, we'll see if he's able to continue his his level of play that he has the last few weeks. So the Cougars have the chance to officially wrap up the Big 12 championship on Saturday against Cincinnati. They're playing at home where they have been, very dominant as well. Besides being dominant on the road, they're dominant at home as well. And Cincinnati, they're reeling a little bit. Houston has a very good chance, especially because this is the Cougars' last home game of the season. Well, the regular season. So they have a chance to, win on their home court and be official Big 12 champions. I think they have a stake right now. It's not official as of yet, but one more win puts them over the top and gives them their second Big 12 championship in as many years. So what are your predictions for Saturday?
Well, I expect the Cougars to come out and win the game. Obviously, they're 14-1 at home. It's just difficult for any team to come in here. I mean, to come, to the Fertitta Center and just say, "Hey, we're going to go in there. We're going to beat the Cougars."
Yeah,
it's tough. That's a tall task for any team. Even for the number one seed that they were coming, it's a tall task for anyone. So with the Bearcats kind of reeling a little bit, I see the Cougars, taking full advantage and just dominating the whole game, and they're gonna be able to win the Big 12 championship on their court. And sometimes that doesn't happen, very, very, very rarely does it happen. Usually it's a away game or, one team lost and so you win. So, sometimes you're not even playing. So kind of, the way it works out sometimes. So the fans are going to be in attendance. They're going to be able to celebrate. And so, it's just going to be something that they want to do. They don't want to win anywhere else. So if they have the opportunity to win here, especially against a reeling Bearcats team, it's going to happen. And that's kind of what I see happening this Saturday.
I full-heartedly agree. I think it's one of those things like the momentum and the pride of winning on their home court. It is going to instill a little more because they were told for the last 2 years, they weren't ready for the Big 12.
Oh,
and
yeah.
What they've done is they completely dominated that entire conference. And it's not a small conference either. It's not Conference USA. It's
No,
Big
definitely
12.
not.
They're going to do something that, no other school in Texas has done. Won 2 Big 12 titles. That would give them the most, and they've been in the conference 2 years. Crazy thing about because think of all the big schools that have been in the Big 12: UT, A&M, Texas Tech, all these other schools. Like they've been in it for years, and they don't have 2 Big 12 titles. And the Cougars team that a lot of people are like, they're not ready for it. They're not built for this. Here they are.
It's easy to say that it's easy to say when you have, you start talking about team Kansas State, these are storied colleges that have won, on the big stage, and so those are just examples of some of the teams in the Big 12, but it's just something that you can see why they were saying, hey, it's the big leagues now for, the Cougars, but for them to come in and show you, hey, just because, we're not, we don't play second fiddle to anybody. So they wanted to show them, and they're showing them for the past 2 years. Oh, well, they've been showing, look at what they've been doing. So, and 1 Big 12 title, 2 Big 12 titles, we got 5 fingers on our hand. Can they make it a 5? But again, not to get too overconfident, but it's something, it's already pretty much written in the books that they're going to get their second Big 12 title. But this just, and with the players coming that we're talking before, this is just something that they should continue. As under leadership of Coach Sampson. So I don't see too many changes happening with a lot of the other colleges. The schools, they recruit, but it's just harder to recruit when you have a great team like this, like the Cougars, and all the players want to go to the school. So that's what I see happening, in the future.
Well, that's going to do it for us this week, guys. Tune in next week. There'll be the start of March Madness, and we'll have some more Rockets and UH content for you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, on X, on In the Paint Pod, as well as our YouTube channel. And give us some in the comment section. Give us your predictions for the Rockets and for the Cougars. We'll see how the rest of the season turns out for both teams. All right, guys. Until next week, y'all be easy.
Peace.